Something big is brewing for the Canucks as a recent update concerning a top prospect will have huge implications for the Canucks' future, and that plan may kick into effect sooner rather than later when considering certain conditions and precedent. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you're enjoying this Canucks content, you want to stay up to date and join the nearly 43% of viewers who are already currently subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates as they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is that Patterson requests a trade. No, it's not Pettersson, as you guys would love to see that A turn to an E, but we are talking of Riley Patterson, who Dave Hall confirmed today that he was not attending Barrie Colt's training camp and that there were rumblings that he would be traded in the OHL this summer, and this appears to be an attempt to push that forward, as it was initially reported by Barrie today that the Colts' leading scorer was not at training camp. Patterson, who along with Kashawn Atkinson led the team with 59 points last season and remains at home, apparently awaiting a trade. According to Colts GM Marty Williamson, he said he wants a fresh start. No hard feelings. I still really like Riley. This is coming off of last season where his role was impacted by the Colts adding to the forward unit of Anthony Romani, other Canucks prospect who is my guy if you guys have been following long enough, Owen Van Steensel, and Dallin Wakely in trades with North Bay, while Emil Hemming was taken in the import draft. Effectively, premium ice time became harder to come by with more elite offensive players compared to a year earlier when the Colts were rebuilding, and that was when he really was absolutely shining in that season. And the 19-year-old forward, whose natural position is center, was drafted in the 4th round by the Vancouver Canucks 14 months ago. It'd be unfair to say that he had a bad season, but with stiff competition up front, like we just said, his production flatlined compared to his rookie campaign, where he had 62 points, but he was still able to lead the team in scoring this past season. So again, this is still a player who was able to produce and was still able to get stuff done. It was just a matter of being a victim of a loaded roster and not having a ton of spots where he can shine in the top 6, but now requesting a trade to a team where he absolutely can do that would be beneficial for his future and development, absolutely, because when you see there with the Barrie Colts, in 68 games he was able to get 62 points, almost averaging a point per game, and then in 64 games the following season with 59 points. He is a natural goal scorer and he can produce, and you see there in the playoffs as well. Last season with Barrie in 16 games, 12 points, which is still really good for the playoffs. That's what you want to see out of one of your top goal scorers. So this is huge for the Canucks, where if this guy goes to another OHL team and absolutely shines, leads them in scoring by a landslide, leads the OHL in scoring, that'll be huge for bringing him in on an ECL, just like they saw with Tom Willander. They might want to see 1 or 2 seasons within 1 season with the OHL and 1 season with the NCAA, which we're going to get to in a second, before they sign him to an entry-level contract. But we could see a very similar situation with Tom Willander here, where this is a prospect that they want to move around a little bit. He wants to play for a couple different teams before he jumps to Abbotsford and makes that jump to the Vancouver Canucks, and they probably will offer him a 2-way contract when that happens so that they can have that flexibility to throw him into the big club and feed him to the Sharks whenever necessary, and see if he sinks or swims. And like we were saying with the NCAA, Patterson came to Barrie after foregoing his commitment to Michigan State. As an unsigned NHL prospect, Patterson is eligible to go to school, but there has been little indication that he has chosen that route. Like the article was saying, he is looking mainly to go the trade route, as a source contacted on Sunday night said Patterson's non-reporting, I should say, is more related to trying to induce a trade to another OHL club. Another source connected to the Canucks did not return a text message seeking insight. So as far as the Canucks front is concerned, it's a little bit of radio silence there, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, the Canucks are obviously monitoring this very closely to see where he goes and to see if he goes to a team that is not only a contender in the OHL, but one where he can absolutely shine in not only a top 6 role, but as the top guy, just like he was with the Barrie Colts for the past 2 seasons. But that role is starting to dwindle, especially with Anthony Romani being a lot younger and him going into his last year of eligibility. He does not want to have any chances where he's on a team that he could potentially fall, not out of the top 6. He'll still be a top 6 guy, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't want to fall into a spot where he could be outside of the top 3, where teams maybe aren't looking at him as much. It's a cutthroat game. It is a business at the end of the day. As much as these kids are going out playing the game that they love, it still is a business when it comes to the owners, the GMs, and all the things that happen in between with contracts, trades, and all that crap. It's something that a player does not want to have to think about, but unfortunately, with the way that, especially with NIL and other sports, and it's starting to leak its way into hockey, and just with how expensive everything is with hockey, if you're making that investment, you want to make sure that you are just getting every opportunity that you can, no matter what. And with everything and all these opportunities as well, players are having to really bust their ass a lot more and a lot earlier as well. They have to make their mark very early, or else they will get swept under the rug by so many up and coming players. So Patterson, he wants to go to a team where he can absolutely be the number one guy, not have any real competition, which you could say it's a little bit selfish, but in my eyes, this is a guy who wants to make the NHL, obviously, but he wants to do it sooner rather than later. He sees what Tom Willander was doing with the NCAA, how he did great there. Maybe he goes there after one more year in the OHL to really be like, hey, I can lead the OHL in scoring, and then I can go to the NCAA and just absolutely dominate there after 3 dominant seasons in the OHL. So that would be really interesting to see. And Patterson's situation could also be affected because there has been a knock-on effect in trading players as teams look to assess what they may have in-house with a new batch of young prospects available, while other mostly older players have left to play college hockey before outgrowing junior hockey. So that's the biggest thing for Patterson here, where if teams are looking at that, they're saying, hey, we got younger guys. We don't want to take a chance on a guy who is on his last year for a just basically rental before he goes to the NCAA or goes to the AHL and just completely skips school. But I definitely see it here where Patterson is probably going to go to a major OHL contender. If he goes to a team like London, that would be crazy. If he goes to a team like Windsor, that's my hometown. So I would love to see that happen and just be able to be close enough to go watch a Vancouver Canucks prospect play on a regular basis. Would be really cool to see that happen. Although with the way that Windsor is, they're still a solid team. But a team like London, defending Memorial Cup champs and OHL champs, probably want to go to a team like that, even though they are going to be pretty front-loaded. But he would be joining a fellow Vancouver Canucks prospect in the goalie Medvedev that they drafted this past season. So it would be interesting to see what happens there. But those are my 2 teams that I'm hoping that he goes to. But would really like to see him just go to a team where he can be a really top guy, lead that team, and be one of the top scorers in the OHL, not only because of his natural given abilities and being able to score goals, create opportunities, but also because he is capable of being that guy. He's been that guy in Barrie for the past 2 seasons, and with the arrival of some fresh new faces, he did have to take a little bit of a back seat, but was still absolutely dominant. So you can only imagine what he would do in his final year of eligibility with a huge chip on his shoulder, similar to how Anthony Romani played. Maybe that's also why he wants to get out of there, because he recognizes that, hey, Anthony Romani is basically like a younger version of Patterson. And he says, all right, get me the hell out of here, because this kid's going to be hungry and he's going to want to score and as many goals as he can, get as many points as he can, and really be one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer on this team. So if that's going to cloud my possibility at getting, especially on the same team that he's a prospect for, that maybe bodes a lot better for him going to another team where he can get those opportunities, and then at least him being signed faster, because if he goes to a team where he's the leading scorer, Vancouver is going to be looking at that more so than if he was on Barrie competing with Romani, or just barely neck and neck with playing time and points scored with some of the other young guys that they have on that team. But what do you guys think about Riley Patterson requesting a trade? Do you think him going to another OHL team will bring more than 62 points, or bring him around the 59 mark that he was at last season? Let us know what you guys have to think about it down in the comments below, and what OHL team would you like to see him go to if it isn't him going to the NCAA? Let us know what you guys have to say down about it in the comments, and what will be the timeline that we see him get an entry-level contract. We know with Tom Willander, it was a very long debate and a very long process that was drawn out as far as finally getting that deal done. But do you think it will be under 1.5 years that we see a ELC for Riley Patterson? Let us know about it down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.